Okay, and welcome back, students who are taking not math, financial accounting. Um, I had said math for business and finance because I had just finished doing 22 chapters of math problems, and it's sort of like stuck in my head. But and we're here doing financial accounting, chapter 2, the exercises group B, and we're picking up where we left off on problem 2-26. Which tells us, let's see here, the transactions for the month of May are posted in the following T accounts. Okay. One, calculate the account balances at May 31st and prepare the trial balance for fun time daycare at May 31st. Okay, so balances in the accounts. All right, so all we're doing is we're looking at each account individual. So we'll look at cash here first. Okay, and this is the debit side and this is the credit side. So we add up our debits, we add up our credits, and then subtract one from the other. Okay, so 35,000 plus 3 is 38. So we have 38,750 for our debits, and we have 12,700 and 6 is 13,300, 14,800, so 14,800 for our credits, and we subtract one from the other, and we end up with 593, 23,950. So that's the balance. It's a debit balance because our debit is greater than our credits. So we have 23,950. 23,950 is the balance in the cash account. For the equipment, I only have a debit, one entry, so it's a debit for 12,700. For service revenue, I only have credits, so I just need to add those together, so that's 8,100. For my receivables, I have a debit of 5,100 and a credit for 750, so I subtract 750 from 5,100, and I end up with 4,350 because my debits are greater than my credits. All right. For accounts payable, I have 600 for a debit and 900 for a credit. Well, the difference between those two is 300, but the credit is greater, so it's a credit of 300. Salary expense, only one entry, so a debit of 1,500. Common stock is 35,000, and supplies is 900. Okay, so those are the balances in the accounts, and now I have to take those balances and create a trial balance at May 31st for fun time. So let me go down to this here next slide. All right, I'm going normally, write this stuff out, okay? Go back to the theory videos as to my explanation on that, but I'm going to be abbreviating because it's my homework problem, okay? Now, if I was going to do this for a test question, or I'm in the workplace, you have to follow the proper formatting conventions, okay? So go back to the introductory videos and watch those chapter 1 theory videos, chapter 2 theory videos about formatting of financial statements, all right? But for now, and that's my warning, okay? So I'm going to abbreviate, but when I create these financial statements, even though I'm abbreviating, I am going to hit all of the important formatting issues. So I have Fun Time Inc. here, okay, as the title, and this is a trial balance. And it's for as of May 31st, 2014. Okay. And so I have my accounts here. And I have a debit column and I have a credit column. So that I have to go back up and look at my accounts and list them in the order, assets, liabilities, equity, and expenses. And I'm listing them by the account numbers. Okay, so I just really need to follow the account numbers and write them on the paper. Okay, so now as a trial balance, I have an option of actually putting the account number. Like I'm sorry, what was the account number for cash? 111. I could put the account number 111 here, then cash, and whatever that balance was. It's a debit for 23,950. Okay, and notice I put the dollar sign in the debit column as the first number because it's designating that these are dollars and not decimals, right? But I, I have an option of writing in the account numbers or not writing them in, all right? To save time, I'm not going to write them in, but I would have a tendency in the workplace to actually write those numbers in because anybody who's looking at it, then if they want to, if I happen to be picking up, I don't know, like this cash account, you know, I don't know if the account number is 100, 110, 120. In this case here, it's 111. Unless I have it memorized, I don't know what it is, and I'd have to go and look it up. But by having it actually on the trial balance as 111, if anybody who's looking at this trial balance, they can just automatically know to go and look at account 111 instead of having to find that actual number. But for saving time, I'm not going to write the number in, and the solution actually doesn't write it in. Okay. So we're going to go down by account numbers. So next is accounts receivable, and that was for 4,350. Okay. Now remember, you created these balances here, okay, when you were doing this work, okay. So follow your paper. I'm not going to bounce back and forth between the slides, okay. Next was supplies, and that was for 900. Then we have equipment, and that was for 12,700. Then I had accounts payable, and notice that that's a credit for $300. Okay, it's the first number in that row, in that column, so I have to put the dollar sign there. Then I have common stock, and that's for 35,000. Then I have service revenue, and that's for 8,100. And then I have a salary expense, and that was for a debit of 1,500. Okay, so I draw an underline under both columns because I'm doing a mathematical calculation, and the total of my debits is 43,400. Notice I put the dollar sign and I double underline showing it's the end of the calculation. I also put the dollar sign for the total of my credits, which should be the same amount of 43,400. And I put my double underline showing it's the end of a calculation, and I write in a description of total so I know what's on this line. Okay, I don't write the arrow. And also be aware that when you're creating a trial balance, I mean, I hear it almost every day. My debits don't equal my credits. Okay, if your debits don't equal your credits, you made a mistake somewhere along the line, and you need to go back and find it. Debits must equal credits, and if they don't, you have to find your mistake. Okay, it's your set of books. You need to fix it. Nobody else can do that for you, right? And if that means going through your books many times, when I first started as a bookkeeper, I had a mistake, and I actually went through my books 17 times, and I worked for a hotel, and they'd have thousands of transactions each and every day. And the controller said to me, look, if you don't find your mistake, it's not my job to find it. You're the one who made the mistake. You need to find it. If you can't find it, then you don't need to, what are you doing here? Okay. I'll find somebody else that can, do the job. And that's the way it is in the workplace. You're a bookkeeper. Your work is supposed to be accurate. All right. 100% accurate, not sort of accurate, or I can't find my mistake, let somebody else do my job for me accurate. Okay. You need to find your own mistakes. Okay. And what if I were the controller, if I were the accountant, and if your debits did not equal your credits, and you fudged, like let's say, for example, and I'm just gonna do this as an example here. Okay, let's say you see my handwriting's all pretty squiggly here. Right? Let's say I had written 4,300 here instead of 4,350. Okay, so my answer here, I mean my total would not be 43,400. My total would be 43,350 here. Now, if I did the math and I came out with these two numbers, okay, and I can't find my mistake, and I went back and I said to myself, okay, I can't get it, so let me just make this, because I know they have to be equal, let me make them equal at 43,400. What you just did was you fudged your books. And if you work for me, I'm going to find this. All right, that's why double entry bookkeeping was created, so that you can't cook the books. If your debits don't equal your credits, you have to find the mistake. If you don't find it, you're cooking the books. And if you make things work out, and if you were working for me and you fudge something like that, you wouldn't have a job the next day. Period. It's just totally unacceptable in the workplace. I'm not saying that to scare you. I mean, you can make mistakes on when you're working. There, everybody makes mistakes. Doesn't matter how many years you've been an accountant. Okay, you're going to make mistakes, but you have to correct them. Okay, and only you can correct your own books. But if you go and you fudge them, that's a whole different story. Company, I mean, years ago, Enron, Qualcomm, WorldCom, they cooked their books, and 27,000 people, accountants, lost their job because Enron, you know, cooked their books. Okay, it's just totally unacceptable when it comes in the workplace for doing that. So just be aware of that, and uh, go through the pain of trying to find your mistakes. But after a while, if you keep make a mistake and you find it, you make a mistake, you'll start learning where you have a tendency to make mistakes, and it actually becomes easier to know, easier to be able to find your mistakes just by experience. So don't take it as a brutality here, like I'm pounding on you. It's just the way it is in the workplace. Okay, like I said, I was faced with that situation, and 17 tries later, 17 looks at my books, I finally found that mistake. And the last time I kept a set of books, I was doing them in an Excel spreadsheet, and instead of putting a comma, I actually put a period in on one of the numbers. Okay, and of course, that made my balances off, even though I was looking at the numbers saying, oh, this is 43,400. It actually was only 43.400 is what I had put in, and the Excel spreadsheet said debits don't equal credits, and I had to find it. Right? You're talking about a period versus a comma in an Excel spreadsheet. Gotta find it. Right? No excuse not to. Right? So just take those as real world experiences on my part. You know, um, when it comes to doing this work. Okay, so with that said, I will see you in the next video for 2-27.